It was raining when Emily Dawson rushed through the hospital's main doors, soaked to the bone, her scrubs clinging to her as if the world itself refused to let her breathe easy. She had just finished a brutal 12-hour shift in the emergency room, where life hung in the balance every second. She was tired, emotionally drained, and hadn't eaten in nearly a day. But as she walked past the hallway bulletin board, something made her stop. A nurse was taping up a sign in bold red letters, "Urgent blood donation needed, AB negative. Patient critical." Emily blinked. AB negative. That was her type. Rare. Only 1 in 100 people had it. "Do we know who the patient is?" she asked, stepping closer. The nurse shook her head. "No name. Brought in unconscious from a hit and run. Looks like he's someone important." Cops were whispering something about private security. Emily didn't need details. All she saw was a chance to help. Again. Even though she had nothing left to give, she still walked toward the blood donation room. Her legs ached with each step, but she didn't stop. She never did when it came to saving lives. She laid on the chair, cold and stiff, while her blood flowed slowly into the bag. It was a strange feeling, knowing she was giving a part of herself to someone she didn't know, someone she might never meet. She only hoped it would help. As she rested her head against the cushion, her mind drifted to her late mother, also a nurse, who used to say, "Sometimes we don't know how far our kindness goes. But it always goes farther than we think." What Emily didn't know was that her kindness was about to come full circle in a way she could never imagine. The man she donated blood to was named Alexander Ward. He was a reclusive tech billionaire who rarely made public appearances, preferring to live a quiet life with his 6-year-old daughter, Sophie, after the tragic death of his wife 3 years ago. The accident that brought him to the ER had been brutal. A runaway delivery truck had crushed his car. He was unconscious when brought in, losing blood fast. The doctor said he wouldn't have made it if that rare blood hadn't arrived in time. When he woke up in the ICU 3 days later, groggy, battered, but alive, the first thing he did was ask about Sophie. His assistant, Marlene, was there, tears in her eyes. "She's safe. You're safe. And you owe your life to someone you've never met." "Who?" he asked, his voice barely audible. "A nurse," Marlene replied. "A young nurse. She gave blood just minutes before surgery. She didn't even know who you were." Alexander stared at the ceiling for a long moment. A nurse. Someone who saved lives for a living. Someone who didn't ask questions. Someone like his wife had been. Emily didn't think about it again. After donating blood, she changed into dry clothes and went straight home to her small apartment where bills piled up on her kitchen counter. She lived paycheck to paycheck, worked overtime almost every week, and still struggled to afford her nursing school loans. But she never complained. Because for her, saving lives meant more than comfort. She didn't know that Alexander was asking his team to find her. Days passed. A week. Then 2. And then one morning, Emily was called into the hospital director's office. She thought maybe she had forgotten to file a report or made some mistake. But instead, she found a sharply dressed woman waiting there, with kind eyes and a leather briefcase. "Emily Dawson?" "Yes. I'm Marlene Wright. I work for Mr. Alexander Ward. You may not remember, but you saved his life 2 weeks ago. He'd like to meet you." Emily blinked in shock. What? I just gave blood. You saved his life." The next day, she was taken in a private car to an estate that looked like something out of a movie. Lush gardens, glass walls, a calm lake in the background. Emily felt like she had stepped into another world. Alexander was waiting in the garden, leaning on a cane, still recovering. Beside him was a little girl with soft curls and bright green eyes. "You must be Emily," he said, extending his hand. "I've been waiting to thank you." You don't need to, she replied, gently shaking his hand. I just did what anyone would do. No, he said, looking at her deeply. You did what a good person would do. Sophie tugged at his sleeve. Is this the angel you told me about, Daddy? Emily smiled. I'm no angel, sweetheart. Alexander chuckled. Maybe not. But to me, you're a miracle. Over the following weeks, something unexpected blossomed. Alexander began inviting Emily to visit. Sometimes for lunch, sometimes just to talk. Sophie adored her. She would bring her little drawings, ask her to read bedtime stories when she stayed late. And Alexander, he found comfort in Emily's quiet strength. Her honesty. Her humility. For Emily, it was the first time in years she felt like she belonged. She hadn't felt that since her mother passed. She had closed herself off for so long, always focusing on others. But here, someone was finally seeing her. One evening, after Sophie had fallen asleep in Emily's lap, Alexander looked at her with soft eyes. You gave me life. But more than that, you gave Sophie her father back. You reminded me that kindness still exists. I used to think money could fix everything. But what you did? That can't be bought. I didn't expect anything, she whispered. I just wanted to help. That's why I want to help you now, he said. I've set up a foundation in your name, the Emily Dawson Kindness Initiative. It will support nurses, fund scholarships, provide medical aid to those in need. And I want you to lead it. Emily's eyes filled with tears. Me? But I'm just. You're not just anything, Alexander said. You're exactly what the world needs more of. Years passed. The foundation grew. Thousands were helped. But more than that, something beautiful happened. Emily and Alexander's friendship deepened into love. Slowly. Gently. Sophie started calling her Mama, before anyone else said the words out loud. And on a quiet spring day, under the same garden where they first met, Alexander proposed. Tears in her eyes, Emily said yes, not because he was a billionaire. Not because of the grand house or the legacy. But because he was kind. Because he had a heart that had been broken and healed. Because Sophie had become her heartbeat. And because they had built something real, out of blood, sacrifice, and selfless love. Moral: one simple act of kindness can change the course of multiple lives. We may never know the full reach of what we do for others, but sometimes, that reach can circle back in the most beautiful, unexpected ways.